Hello students. Today we will discuss Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi's essay The Birth of Khadi. As you all know, Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi was born in 1869. Officially recognized as a father of the nation, he was popularly known as Bapu. He chose truth and non-violence as the main weapons against the British rule. In India, Gandhi's peaceful battle and bloodless revolution helped India gain independence. Called to the bar in 1891, he practiced at the Bombay High Court and in South Africa. He laid the foundation of Indian National Congress in 1894, after which he identified himself with the cause of the Indian independence movement from 1915 till 1948. He completely dominated Indian politics. He died at the hands of a fanatic, Nathuram Godse, in 1948. Hardly a year after independence, he was the living embodiment of truth and nonviolence. He was not only an ardent social worker and aspiring teacher, but also one of the greatest Indian writers of English. In the extract from his autobiography, he says that the main object behind the birth of Khadi was to enable Indians to be clothed in cloth manufactured by their own hands. I don't remember to have seen a handloom or a spinning wheel when, in 1908, I described it in Hind Swaraj as the panacea for the growing pauperism of India. In that book, I took it as understood that anything that helped India to get rid of the grinding poverty of her masses would, in the same process, also establish Swaraj. Even in 1915, when I returned to India from South Africa, I had not actually seen a spinning wheel. When the Satyagraha Ashram was founded at Sabarmati, we introduced a few handlooms there, but no sooner had we done this than we found ourselves up against a difficulty. All of us belonged either to the liberal professions or to business. Not one of us was an artisan. We needed a weaving expert to teach us to weave before we could work the looms. One was at last procured from Palanpur. But he did not communicate to us the whole of his art. But Magalnal Gandhi was not to be easily baffled. Possessed of a natural talent for mechanics, he was able fully to master the art before long. And one after another, several new weavers were trained up in the ashram. The object that we set before ourselves was to be able to clothe ourselves entirely in cloth manufactured by our own hands. We therefore forthwith discarded the use of mill woven cloth, and all the members of the ashram resolved to wear hand woven cloth made from Indian yarn only. The adoption of this practice brought us a world of experience. It enabled us to know from direct contact the conditions of life among the weavers, the extent of their production, the handicaps in the way of their obtaining their yarn supply, the way in which they were being made victims of fraud, and lastly, their ever growing indebtedness. We were not in a position immediately to manufacture all the clothes for our needs. The alternative, therefore, was to get our clothes supply from handloom weavers. But ready made cloth from Indian mill yarn was not easily obtainable, either from the cloth dealers or from the weavers themselves. All this fine cloth woven by the weavers was from foreign yarn. Since Indian mills did not spin fine gowns, even today the outturn of higher gowns by Indian mills is very limited, whilst highest gowns they cannot spin at all. It was after the greatest effort that we were at last able to find some weavers who condensed to weave Swadeshi yarn for us, and only on condition that the ashram would take up all the cloth that they might produce. By thus adopting cloth woven from mill yarn as our wear and propagating it among friends, we made ourselves voluntary agents of the Indian spinning mills. This in its turn brought us into contact with the mills and enabled us to know something about their management and their handicaps. We saw that the aim of the mills was more and more to weave the yarn spun by them. Their cooperation with the handloom weaver was not willing, but unavoidable and temporary. We became impatient to be able to spin our own yarn. It was clear that until we could do this ourselves, dependence on the mill would remain. We did not feel that we could render any service to the country by continuing as agents of Indian spinning mills. No end of difficulties again faced us. We could go neither spinning wheel nor a spinner to teach us how to spin. We were employing some wheels for filling peels and bobbins for weaving in the ashram, but we had no idea that these could be used as spinning wheels. One Kalidas Javeri discovered a woman whom he said would demonstrate to us how spinning was done. We sent to her a member of the ashram who was known for his great versatility in learning new things, but even he returned without wresting the secret of the art. So the time passed on and my impatience grew. With the time, I plied every chance visitor to the ashram who was likely to possess some information about hand spinning with question about the art, but the art being confined to women, having been all but exterminated, if there was some stray spinner still surviving in some obscure corner, only a member of that sex was likely to find out her whereabouts. In the year 1917, I was taken by my Gujarati friends to preside at the Broch Educational Conference. It was here that I discovered that remarkable lady, Gangaben Majumdar. She was a widow, but her enterprising spirit knew no bounds. Her education, in the accepted sense of the term, was not much, but in courage and common sense, she easily surpassed the general run of our educated women. She had already got rid of the curse of untouchability and fearlessly moved among and served the suppressed classes. She had means of her own, and her needs were few. She had a well seasoned constitution, went about everywhere without an escort. She felt quite at home on horseback. I came to know her more intimately at the Godhra conference. To her, I poured out my grief about the Chirka, and she lightened my burden by a promise to prosecute an earnest and incessant search for the spinning wheel. Now, we will discuss the summary of the essay. When the Satyagraha Ashram was founded at Sabarmati, a few handlooms were introduced there. The object that was set in the ashram before them was to be able to clothe themselves entirely in cloth manufactured by their own hands. Therefore, the residents of ashram gave up the use of mill-woven cloth, and all the members of the ashram resolved to wear hand-woven clothes made from Indian yarn only. By thus adopting cloth woven from mill yarn as their wear and propagating it among their friends, they made themselves voluntary agents of the Indian spinning mill. This in turn brought them into contact with the mills. They saw that the aim of the mill was more and more to weave the yarn spun by them. Their cooperation with the handloom weaver was not willing, but unavoidable and temporary. They could get neither a spinning wheel nor a spinner to teach them how to spin, and they asked every chance visitor to the ashram who was likely to possess some information about hand spinning or about the art. In the year 1917, he presided at the Broch Educational Conference. It was there he met remarkable lady Gangaben Majumdar, and when Gandhiji discussed her regarding the problem of spinning, promised to search for the person who has knowledge of spinning. At last, after Gangaben found the spinning wheel in Vijapur in the Baroda state, quite a number of people there had spinning wheels in their home but had long since put them away as useless lumber. They expressed to Gangaben their readiness to resume spinning if someone promised to provide them with a regular supply of slivers and to buy the yarn spun by them. Gangaben communicated the joyful news to Gandhiji. Then the providing of slivers were found to be a difficult task. When Gandhiji mentioned the problem to the late Omar Sobhani, he solved the difficulty by immediately undertaking to send a sufficient supply of slivers from his mill. Gandhiji did not like continuously receiving slivers from him or ever. It seemed to him to be fundamentally wrong to use mill slivers. If one could use mill slivers, why not use mill yarn as well? Surely no mill supplied slivers. How did they make their slivers then? With these thoughts in my mind, he suggested to Gangaben to find carders who could supply slivers. She confidently undertook the task. She engaged a carder who was prepared to card cotton. He demanded 35 rupees, if not much more, per month. Gandhiji considered no price too high at the time. She trained a few youngsters to make slivers out of the carded cotton. Thus, the spinning wheel gained a rapid footing in the ashram. This chapter provides Gandhiji experiences of his initial challenge in search of spinning wheel. He also tells about how khadi, hand spun and hand woven clothes became substitute for Swadeshi. In 1918, Mahatma Gandhi started his movement for Khadi as relief program for the poor masses living in India's village. Spinning and weaving was elevated to an ideology for self-reliance and self-government that is called Swaraj.